Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. This is the first Lunch and Learn of 2026 for St. Lucie County Public Utilities Department. Thank you all so much for being here. My name is Jenny Tomes. I am the Environmental Education and Outreach Coordinator in the Public Utilities Department. This event would not be possible without our partners and the sponsorship of Waste Pro. Everybody wave to Waste Pro. Thank you all so much. This event would just be called Learn, and there would be no lunch, and that would be really boring. So we truly appreciate Waste Pro being here, being amazing community partners, and again, sponsoring this awesome lunch for everybody. Let's go ahead and get into it. So we're celebrating Earth Day, not just on April 22nd, really, but every day. So we have a panel of experts up here who are gonna talk about all of the different ways we can incorporate kind of Earth Day into every day. It doesn't just have to be a special occasion. Like you wanna celebrate your sweetie every day, right? Not just on Valentine's Day. So we're going to take that concept and apply it to Earth Day. Let's meet our panel. We have Bridget Jaravac. She's the Natural Resources Extension Agent. Yes, yes. She is her own hype woman. She's the Natural Resources Extension Agent with the University of Florida IFAS Extension Office. And we have Lauren Jenkins, She's the Senior Interpretation and Stewardship Coordinator with the Environmental Resources Department. So she works over out of Oxbow, and she's going to be talking more about that. We've got a great Earth Day celebration coming up that she'll talk about. And Valentina Rodriguez. She's our solid waste marketing and outreach coordinator and one of my favorite coworkers. But we work together in the Public Utilities Department. And then lastly, you all know me. Okay. So I've been walking the earth for so many years now, and I realized I didn't really know much about Earth Day because Earth Day has always been a thing since I've been walking the earth. So I wanted to give a little bit of the history about Earth Day because I didn't know anything about it myself. So this is a very abbreviated, very brief timeline about Earth Day, but you can dig more into it like I did at earthday.org/history. So let's start with our timeline. Our timeline is going to start BE, before Earth Day. Thank you. So it was pretty bleak. A lot of industry, just kidding. It was amazing. Business was booming. Industry was booming. Manufacturing was booming. But back then, we kind of didn't know what we didn't know. We didn't know the effects that all of this industry would have on our air quality, our atmosphere, our water quality. You've got cars. There weren't a lot of regulations in place to make sure that we weren't putting new things on the planet that were going to cause pollution. You've got, who knows what that is? I mean, that could be sludge. Things were just being dumped on the ground. Things were going into water bodies, into the ocean. That's not a thing really anymore, thanks to this movement. So it's pretty bleak back then. But I found out about this gal. So this is Rachel Carson. So back in 1962, she was one of the first people who really connected kind of our environment and its effects on public health. So she wrote this book, Silent Spring. I was looking for it because I wanted to bring a copy of it here, but I think it was checked out of our library system, which is a good thing. But there were a ton of other books about her that you can read, even a kid's book about Rachel Carson. So I thought that was really cool. But she's been an environmental activist, pretty much her whole life. But in 1962, she writes this book. It's a New York Times bestseller because it was something people hadn't heard before. No one had really made the connection between, pollution, air quality, and the effects, the negative effects it had on our public health. So it was apparently a real page turner, New York Times bestseller. All right, so fast forward to 1969. We have Senator Gaylord Nelson, who's a junior senator out of Wisconsin. So he was watching kind of the environment sort of being affected by all of this, just like Rachel did. I think what really kind of was his last straw, there was a huge oil spill off the coast of Santa Barbara, California. And he just thought, okay, this isn't, like, I have to do something. I'm in a political position of power. I have to do something. He was very motivated by the student-led anti-war movements that were happening on campuses across the country, and really liked that strategy and thought if he could apply kind of the Earth Day messaging and use that as sort of the tool to get this out into the public, he thought that was a great way to do it. He went to Dennis Hayes, who had had a lot of success leading these kinds of movements, teach-ins as they called them. But I think the coolest thing was how they decided that Earth Day was going to be held on April 22nd. It had everything to do with the college kids. They didn't want to hold it during spring break. Wouldn't be a lot of people on campus. They didn't want to do it during finals, a lot of people studying. He literally set a date in between those two events to make sure he had maximum participation, which I think is really cool. So it wasn't, it was just to accommodate folks to make sure more people could participate. So I thought that was really cool. So now that was sort of the pilot program. It went well across campuses. In 1970, now we've got the official Earth Day. So again, that young man, Dennis Hayes, he assembled his Avengers. He had 85 people helping promote Earth Day around college campuses all over the country. 20 million Americans, so 10% of the population participated. So for a first attempt, that was pretty darn good. But again, demonstrating and wanted to inspire others and really kind of bridge the gap between knowledge and action and say, hey, we've got a lot of stuff going on in our environment right now, and it's up to us to help make it better. So in 1980, a tremendous amount of environmental legislation. So just in those 10 years since the official first Earth Day, a ton, and there's more than this, but the Clean Air Act, which we've heard a lot about, the Clean Water Act, endangered species, marine mammal. I mean, the list just went on and on. I couldn't fit it all, so I just did it like that. So a ton of legislation now, over 10 years. 10 years later, now Earth Day isn't just in America, it's across the globe. So again, our friend Dennis Hayes, he led the campaign. 200 million people in 141 countries participated. It inspired worldwide recycling efforts, and then it even led to the United Nations Earth Summit in '92, just a couple years later. Senator Gaylord Nelson, remember he was the one who kind of got this thing going. He got the Presidential Medal of Honor from President Clinton, or sorry, was it Clinton? Is my dates right? Anybody? 1990? It's Clinton, right? I don't know, I get them all. Okay, anyway, my history teacher husband would be mortified right now. Anyway, he got that medal, huge deal. Okay, so continuing on with now we're after Earth Day, so AE, after Earth Day. So just again, 2000. Every Earth Day focuses on a different theme. So in 2000, it was global warming, clean energy. We celebrated the 40th anniversary. And then they also did another campaign called the Billion Acts of Green, which is kind of like what I talked about in the beginning, not just celebrating Earth Day once a year, but really incorporating this movement every day. United Nations signed the Paris Agreement Climate Accord. 2020 is the 50th anniversary, but COVID kind of ruined all celebrations. But because we couldn't really gather, it actually was the largest online mobilization of anything to celebrate online. I don't know how you do that, and then today we made history, because it's our first Lunch and Learn in St. Lucie County. Yay! Oh, and then Lauren's going to make history because Earth Day at Oxbow is going to be on April 18th. She's got flyers. I've got flyers out there from 10 to 4. Thousands of people go. You're all invited. How much? Maybe carpool, maybe? All right. So that's, again, a very abbreviated, but that's just sort of to kind of, understand why we're all here today. I'm going to turn it over to Lauren. Thank you so much. Yes, more clapping. Yay.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
So I don't remember what my slides are because Jenny made them. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah, surprise. Hi, everybody. My name is Lauren Jenkins. I'm the Senior Interpretation and Stewardship Coordinator with the Environmental Resources Department of St. Lucie County. I really actually love working for the Environmental Resources Department because our mission is what I believe to be as super important, which is to preserve, protect, and restore natural lands in our county. And we're doing a great job. Oh, it moves. Oh, thank you. So we're gonna talk about the benefits of preserving lands and supporting green spaces. But the Environmental Resources Department, we are dedicated, and I say we, that's not my job. I don't do the land acquisition, but I do consider myself a we when it comes to ERD. We are a team that works together in all different facets, even though this is what I do as environmental outreach and education. Our lands division are the ones that are really working to acquire these properties. So we work hard to acquire as many properties as possible, especially environmentally significant lands. And there's a whole team of acquisition committee that works to identify these properties and work to secure them for the county. We collect land. It sounds like we're greedy, but we're doing that to offer wildlife corridors, to protect water quality, to even provide public recreational space. So I wanted to talk today just a little bit about some of the properties that we have acquired in the last couple years. So you may have seen this image before. This is a map of St. Lucie County. The green spaces are natural lands in the county. Not all of them are managed by ERD, but a lot of them are. We have over 11,000 acres of preserved property in St. Lucie County. I'm going to repeat that. We have over 11,000 acres of preserved property in St. Lucie County and growing. There are currently 28 public preserves open to residents and visitors. It takes a little bit of time for an acquired property to become public because all the infrastructure has to be put in, like fencing and parking and all of that. So it takes a couple years. So currently we are 28 and growing. And we have over 60 miles of trail. So if you like to get out on the nature preserves and walk, there's plenty of space to do that. All of our preserves in St. Lucie County are free to the public. They're all dog friendly as long as they're leashed and you pick up after them. But that's unique because I think Martin County, they're not dog friendly places, but I could be wrong. 60 miles of trails. That's exciting. Here are some examples of recent land acquisitions. So in the last couple years, we have acquired 834 acres in these different parcels. Please don't ask me specifically like latitude, longitude, where they are, because I couldn't tell you, but I do have a map. So 5 of these parcels right here are just some examples that I wanted to showcase what we're looking for when we talk environmentally significant lands. Not every land is considered environmentally significant. If it's completely impacted, it's really would be okay for building or construction. We're looking for properties that should be protected for environmental purposes, whether that's wildlife corridor, protecting water quality, or even the public recreation. So this parcel 7, 11, 17, and Cypress Creek 784 contiguous acres, which is great. That one's not quite open, but I'm super excited for it to happen. Okay, let's see. So this parcel in particular, every parcel, this is just showcasing why these lands were acquired, just for specific reasons. So it's along the shoreline, it's gonna aid in stormwater attenuation. We've got hardwood hammocks along the ecological corridor for this one, 11 acres. Our friend's parcel has a lot of different wildlife species that have been identified living there. It's got wetlands. This 25th and Midway parcel, which I'm actually super excited about because we worked with Parks and Recreation Department, we kind of teamed up and acquired this property together. Half of the property, or part of the property, is going to end up being a Parks and Rec facility. I think it's an aquatics center. Yes, that's going to happen. It was already impacted. But this was a good get. It's right on the river, too.
Is that near White City Park?
Yes, it's close to that. So there's a chicken place right on the corner of Midway at Popeyes. So thank you. It's directly behind that Popeyes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it's a good spot. Cypress Creek. So Cypress Creek is one of those properties, that the 784 acre property that's out west. There has been, on our trail cameras, we've even spotted Florida panthers moving through that property. So acquiring that land is so important for those species. Okay. Here is kind of a blurry map, but so this is that Popeyes right here, actually. And these are those two properties, right? And you can see right along the river, those different colored properties there are those acquisitions. And then we're working on some turnpike feeder lots, also grabbing as much of that property as we can. So green spaces, we've already talked about, they're important for wildlife corridors and protecting water quality. They also improve our quality of life. So remember, we're not only protecting these spaces for wildlife and plants and water quality, but also for ourselves. So part of our mission is to provide public recreational space as well. But they are invaluable. Here's what they do. We talked about this already. How do we get the land? Great question. How do you pay for the land? Great question. I didn't put that in here. If you're curious, St. Lucie County, we are taxpayer funded, just like the rest of the county, and we are not allowed to purchase property above appraised value. So it makes it difficult for us when there's a building construction company that says, I'll give you triple that if you sell it to me. We're in a tough spot because we are not allowed to pay any more than that. So landowners who own property and are wishing to sell property, we should tell them that this is the better option. Sell your property to the county. We'll protect it. We'll take care of it. We'll keep it part of our environmentally significant lands program. And a lot of our property is done that way. Like Petravis Family Preserve, that was donated. It wasn't donated. It was sold to the county through a family who wanted their land to be part of our program. That's not always the case, though. But also we have funding matches from the Florida Communities Trust, South Florida Water Management District, Save Our Rivers, and CARL. What does CARL stand for? Conservation, I have it written down. Conservation and Recreational Lands is another place we get funding from. And they typically match our funding too, so that's how we're making it happen. But this whole program came into account in 1994 from a $20 million local bond program that was voted on by residents. So if that ever comes up again, it's up to us, because all that money has been gone since 1994, but we've since then tripled the amount of funding by using these other sources as well. Any questions about anything? Yeah.
I saw you have 7 acres. Is there a minimum number of acres that you guys
I don't think there's a minimum. As long as the land meets the acquisition committee's requirements, I don't know that size really makes a big difference, but it's more like location, what's on the property, how it's been impacted, that kind of thing. But don't take my entire word because I'm not on the committee. Yes?
So your land acquisitions are actually outside of any city, is that right?
Outside of any city.
Like Fort Pierce or,
Not necessarily.
even though it's all county, but
Right, right. I don't know the specifics of boundary lines and what we're allowed to acquire and what we're not. I could find out for you, but I don't know that answer. I would assume it would have to be within the county lines, though. Big square. Okay, I'm going to hand it off to the next person. I assume this is my last slide. Yes? Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Let me make sure I know how to use this. Great. All right. So, hello. My name is Bridget Garavac. Hi. I am with the UF IFAS Extension Office. I am the Natural Resource Extension Agent. And so today, I'm really going to be focusing on living cohesively with nature through means of improving local ecosystems, and even more specifically, improving local ecosystems through shoreline stabilization and improving water quality. Really, water quality improvements that you can do at home, because these shoreline stabilization projects are extremely complex. They often involve a lot of engineering that goes with it. And so you can do it at home, but oftentimes we see these on much larger properties, and it takes a long time to be able to do them. But before I get into that, I really want to emphasize what an ecosystem is. And so an ecosystem is essentially where our organisms and their habitat and then all of their relationships are taking place in a shared space. That is our definition of an ecosystem. Pretty simple, but something to keep in mind, and Lauren kind of touched on this in her presentation, is that all of these ecosystems provide a service. We call these ecosystem services. And so when we're talking about ecosystem services, essentially it is a good that we, as people, are receiving at no cost to us. And I'm not going to dive too deep into all of these, but it's important to note, mine also comes up at a time. All right. So some of these ecosystem services include providing food and water, right? Super important for our survival and our success. They also, if you're thinking about wetlands, they're providing that water filtration. Forests, they're providing some of that oxygen that we're breathing, right? As well as that carbon sequestration, that removing of carbon from the atmosphere to produce that oxygen. So again, another service. The fact that it's able to create soil, right? It's able to take those organic materials, those leaves that have fallen, those animals or organisms that are deceased, decay them and create this soil for new plants, including for agriculture, right? So another service. And then, of course, again, Lauren touched on this as well, but all these ecosystems provide mental and health benefits to us as people as well. And so something to keep in mind within the state of Florida, really fun fact, is that we have about 80 distinct ecosystems throughout the state. And here in St. Lucie County, we have at least 13, according to my researching and data collection. So we've got about 13 distinct ecosystems within our county itself. And so because we have all of these different environments, it's really important to think about supporting and maintaining them. And the first step of that we often see is shoreline stabilization. This picture is probably pretty familiar. Things like this happen throughout the state everywhere. It's often caused by severe erosion, and this erosion is often caused by removal of vegetation. It can be caused by heavy rainfall, pushing soil out of the way. It can be caused by wind, again, moving that soil out of the way. And so now begins that complex process of what do we do when we have this sort of situation? So, very complex. One of the things you really have to keep in mind when you're talking about shoreline stabilization is what is the environment you're working in? Really on a simple scale, is it freshwater or is it a saltwater environment? Because we do often see this along freshwater rivers. We see this along, obviously, some of our beaches and oceans. So what type of environment am I working in? Because that's going to impact the type of plants that you're going to need to put in that place to help support some of that soil. Additionally, we can think about adding maybe some of that submerged plants, right? Again, thinking about where is it located? Am I going to have a lot of boat traffic? Is this going to be something that your shoreline is going to have to withstand? What is the tidal flow? Are you seeing that you get a really high tide during certain times of the day? Because that's going to, again, impact what plants can handle that much water for how many hours. Or is your tide pretty consistent? Does it stay right around the same level throughout the day? And so you know whatever you plant now will hold up in 6 hours from now. So it's this really complex process to be able to figure out what to do. Another component when we're talking about shoreline stabilization, we more often see this in some of our coastal environments, but is this inclusion of breakwaters. And so the purpose of our breakwaters is essentially to reduce the amount of wave storm, wave surge that is coming from maybe things like natural disasters, hurricanes, or even boat traffic. So there's a few different components to these shoreline stabilizations, but all of them have really good benefits. With a lot of this planting, as you can imagine, we're seeing decreased erosion, right? All of those plant roots going into the ground, helping hold that sediment in place. We're seeing improved or even new habitat, right? Habitat that had disappeared over time is now back, providing forage areas for birds, places maybe for juvenile fish to hide out from predators. We're also seeing improved water quality, right? Again, we're thinking about those plants are able to remove some of that nutrients from getting into the water, improving what water is entering into our larger water bodies. And of course, it's just a lot prettier to look at, right? Who doesn't love staring at plants? Even if you don't know what they are. If they flow in the wind, muley grass, it's my favorite. Beautiful. So that's really complex. That's a really hard thing to do and a lot of things to account for. And so now I really want to take some time to focus on some more achievable things for people to do themselves about water quality. But I want to start, like I have with all of these other things, about why water quality is important. I'm sure you guys are all familiar. We're all Floridians. Water is everywhere for us, right? A lot of you have it on your table. You're drinking it. But there's another approach that I want to talk about that we kind of touched on by Rachel Carson. It's this concept of One Health. And so it's this idea that whatever water you're using to irrigate your plants, then maybe some of your cows are eating that, you're eating that cow, and so whatever that cow has consumed from that plant, you are also consuming, right? So it's not necessarily that direct consumption approach, but what's impacting those organisms is now impacting you as well. And of course, being in Florida, economy is a big part of our water quality. We're a really big tourism state, right? People come for our beautiful beaches and our beautiful springs. And if those don't look so nice or if they're closed and inaccessible, that can hurt some of our tourism. We're also really big on boating, right? And fishing, both our commercial and recreational fishermen. And so these are all important things to keep in mind about why we should care about our water quality. So what are some things that you can do? The first is follow the Florida-friendly landscaping principles. I have some information about this if this is something that you're interested in. And essentially, this is the idea. One of our principles is right place, right time. And so it's the idea that you are choosing the appropriate plant to place in your yard based on the time of year, based on where it is in your yard, how much sun is it going to get, what does the rainfall look like in that area. And so it's keeping in mind some of those principles. And I will say, with some of our freezes that we've had, some of us have noticed that some of these plants are doing a little bit better than our other plants. So kudos to our Florida-friendly landscaping. Following our local ordinances. So in St. Lucie County, one of our ordinances is that your fertilizer should not contain any phosphate. This is really something important to keep in mind because a lot of our stores still supply fertilizers with phosphate for you to purchase. So it's really on you as a consumer to pay attention to what is in these fertilizers so that way you're applying the appropriate material. And of course, looking ahead. What I mean by this is looking ahead to the weather. Is it going to rain? Because if you apply any sort of fertilizer or pesticides, there's a chance that's just going to wash right off in that rain and go down your storm drain or enter into a larger body of water. Are you about to mow your yard? All of those grass clippings, same thing, right? They're not going to stay on your yard with all of that rain. So keeping in mind what's coming in the future, which is a little hard here, right? Our weather is pretty unpredictable, but oftentimes we have a pretty good sense of when our rainy season is and what that means in our rainy season. So keeping in mind what that means for you and your yard and our local water bodies. And so all that to say, everything that we do impacts our local ecosystems, right? So how you're maintaining your yard, how you're acting when you're out at the preserves, really kind of trying to implement that leave no trace policy to make sure that those ecosystems are as pristine when you're leaving as when you entered. So that's my presentation. Are there any questions? Yes. I do the Florida Master Naturalist Program. It's probably going to be about a year before we have that up and running. There is another component that we have in the works that is more water-based. I'm hoping to get that up by the end of the year. I've only been in this position for about 4 months now, so I'm still kind of getting that programming together. But be on the lookout, because I'm hoping it's our Florida Water Stewardship course, and I'm hoping to have that up and running maybe by fall. Any other questions? Perfect. I will pass that along.
Hi, everybody. My name is Valentina. Thank you. So I am the outreach and education coordinator for St. Lucie County Solid Waste, which is pretty much a nice way of saying I go out in the community and I educate on recycling, which is actually pretty interesting based off of the presentation that I'm going to give you guys, because I'm going to teach you what needs to be done before you get to recycle. There's a lot of steps that a lot of people skip, and they think that recycling is just the most important step. But there's actually 3 R's that come before recycling. Does anybody know them? No? Pretty close. So we've got refuse. That's the first one and the most important one. We always want to try to refuse as much as we can. We are mass producing so much right now, and our landfills are growing so much. So we want to try to refuse things that we don't need. Really think about what you're buying and if it's necessary. Try to avoid all those single-use things that you're just buying just because. We want to try to reduce our waste, and we want to reuse. All of that should be coming before we recycle. So recycling is very important, but it's not the first step. It's not the second. And it's not even the third. It's actually the last one that we should be doing. Recycling should really be more damage control. It's what we're trying to divert from the landfill, but we want to stop producing this waste in the first place. The less that we buy, the less that we're making. So we have a waste hierarchy that we follow. So we want to try to reduce, reuse, recycle, repair, and then the last step would be over at our landfill. That's the last place that we want to have all these products end up in. So the most sustainable item is the one that you'll never need to buy. And I'll say that again. The most sustainable item is the one you never needed to buy. We are buying and mass producing everything. We have single-use products. We're throwing parties and using single-use plates, single-use cups, and we're throwing it all away. I see it every holiday at our landfill, and I encourage everybody to come and take a tour with me over at our recycling facility. The amount of things that you're seeing being thrown in there. If we refuse these products, if we refuse the excess packaging, if we say no to these unnecessary items, we'll be able to reduce it. We'll choose more durable products. We'll be mindful of what we're consuming. This one's actually my favorite. So if we're reusing, we're thrifting, we're buying secondhand, we're donating our clothes, we're donating our furniture, we're donating things that we no longer have a purpose for, that could be useful for somebody else. I'll share a little story. I actually just bought my first house a couple of months ago. Thank you. And I noticed that when I bought my house, everything is very expensive. I was not prepared for that. I was not ready. I wasn't expecting all of these things that I needed to buy with the house. I bought the house, I walked in and I said, where's everything? Where's my furniture? Why is it so empty? What am I supposed to do now? I have gone to every single thrift store here in Treasure Coast almost. I have been able to buy all of my items secondhand and they look brand new. And it's amazing to see all the things that people are throwing away just because there's a new trend, just because the colors changed and this doesn't fit my aesthetic anymore. So now I need to buy a whole new living room set. My entire living room came from somebody who didn't want it anymore, and it looks amazing. It's brand new. There's no scratches on it. It looks like I went to Rooms To Go and bought it firsthand. I always recommend it. We want to try to use our reusable water bottles, these water bottles that we're recycling as much as we can. But at the end of the day, you can only recycle an item so much. There's only so much space that we have on our landfill. If you drive past it every time, you're going to see it getting bigger and bigger. St. Lucie County is growing. We're getting more residents. That's more waste that people are producing, and they're not being conscious about it. There's so many things that we can do before we're just throwing them into that recycling bin. And to even touch on that recycling bin that we have there, how many of you guys know that even though it's single stream, not everything is curbside recyclable? Do you guys know any items that we can't put in there? What was it? Yes, dirty pizza boxes, but there are some items that are recyclable that should not be in those bins. Our styrofoam is recyclable, and a lot of people are throwing it either in their recycling bin or they're throwing it away. And styrofoam is 90% air. So that 90%, one piece of styrofoam that's probably the size of me, once we melt it down to actually be processed, it's probably like that big. That's all that space that we're saving from our landfill just by going through the proper recycling channels. So we want to really encourage people to educate themselves on this and to come and come to our tours, see what we're doing, see all of our programs. Yes, so Publix will take your plastic bags, they'll take your recycling, and they'll take the styrofoam. Oxbow is our drop-off center where we'll take your styrofoam and we'll take your plastic bags. The landfill will take your e-waste, we'll take your hazardous waste, we'll take your plastic bags, we'll take your styrofoam, and we'll take your recyclables, as long as they're clean recyclables. So pretty much, recycling is not an unlimited solution. A lot of people think that recycling is the next big trend that's going to fix all of our problems. Recycling can't fix all of our problems. Our problems need to start before we even buy the item. We need to be thinking about what it is that we're purchasing. There's so many things that aren't recyclable that we're still just throwing away just because we bought it. We thought it was pretty in the store. We thought we needed it at the moment. 3 months later, I see it at the landfill. So really the question that we should be asking is, before I say, can I recycle this? I should really be asking myself, did I even really need this? Did I have to buy it? Was it useful? Did I only keep it for a month and then I decided, you know what, I don't want it anymore? So that was my turning it right back over to Jenny.
I'm the closer, closing it down. All right. So everybody sort of has their areas of expertise. My passion is water. All day, every day, big fan of the water. Water coming in, water going out, so water and wastewater. So we can't live without water, right? You can survive for, I think, several weeks without food, but only a couple days without water. So it is absolutely a fundamental part of our existence. So just humor me for a moment. We're going to pretend that this bowl holds all of the water on our planet, right? Anybody, here's my guy, how much of the Earth's surface is covered with water? Do you remember? Uncle Mike. Who is that? Is that you? Who said that? Do you remember? How much of the Earth's surface? It's more than half, if that helps you. So it's over 50%. Do you remember? You're calculating? I put you on the spot too. I'll come back to you though. I have other questions. Anybody? Who said it? You said, I heard you. 3/4? Yeah, so about 70 to 75% of the Earth's surface is covered with water. We're the water planet. We're the blue planet, right? How much of that is fresh though? Most of that is salt water. How much of that is fresh? 10%. Anybody else have a guess? 3%. Bridget, you know the answer. You're so excited. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Bridget. Yeah, thanks, gals. All right, so I don't like short circuit myself. I'm going to keep this on the table, in the splash zone. All right, so about all the water on the planet, I'm no math wizard. I'm more of a wordsmith, but about 3% is fresh. 3%. That's not a lot. I'm going to make that number even smaller because 2% of our fresh water is frozen in glaciers for now. So now 3 minus 2. 3 minus 2? Nailed it. 3 minus 2. All right. 1%. Guys, that's all we have. That's our freshwater resources. Just one. That's it. That's why I go crazy and I put the cape on and I go around and I talk to people about making water conservation just part of your daily routine. It's not a heavy lift, and it's something, if you're aware of it, and it becomes habits, you can really do it without even thinking about it. So we're going to talk about average household use, top 4 indoor water uses, and then, of course, ways to save. All right, so the average person uses between 80 and 100 gallons of water per day. So think of a bathtub. Bathtub's about 70 gallons. So we're using over a bathtub filled with water every single day. Now you have a family of 4. Now we're up to about 400 gallons a day. Anybody want to take a guess of what indoor activity uses the most water on average in our households? Showers. Anybody else have a guess? Toilet. Anybody else have a guess? Dishwasher. Teeth brushing. That's a lot of teeth. Okay. All right. Ding, ding. I don't have a prize, but you win. You win. It's toilet flushing. I couldn't believe that when I saw that, and that's from the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency. I would have thought showers. For me, I would have thought showers, but it's toilet flushing. So new toilets use about 1 gallon to 2 gallons every time you flush. Again, we're going to have to flush, guys. And no judgment. What's that saying? If it's everybody eat, right? Everybody's done eating? Okay. I had to talk about toilets at some point. If it's brown, flush it down. If it's yellow, let it mellow. No judgment. I'm not at your house. You do what you want. But if you're saving water all day, right? So we've got number 1 is toilet flushing. Number 2, anybody? I didn't hear this answer, I don't think. Laundry. Laundry mountain, that's what I call it. Laundry mountain. I feel like we wear 10 sets of clothes at my house every day. The laundry piles up. I can't believe it. All right, so laundry is a close second, followed by showers is number 3. And then lastly, now we're talking hand washing, teeth brushing, if you're washing your dishes, so all of the water that leaves the faucet. All right, so again, every flush is about 1 to 2 gallons, and that's a new toilet. Older toilets, much more than that. So again, we have to flush what we have to flush, but we don't use our trash can as a toilet, but so why would we use our toilet as a trash can, right? So my point there is don't flush trash. Don't flush trash. Some of us have been to the wastewater treatment plant and we have seen the things. I'm talking about things people throw away. Let's talk about things people flush. It's bonkers to me. It's bonkers to me. And what's so interesting is that when people flush that trash, guess where it ends up? Her house? Well, not your house. Where you work. The landfill. The landfill. Yes. She is a cot there. So even when you flush trash, it still gets sifted out. It still gets taken out, put in a dumpster, and then taken to the landfill. So cut out the middleman. Don't waste a flush on trash, please. And then check the flapper. So this, I don't work for Fluid Master, but this was the cheapest one I found. This is just under $4 or $5. But a lot of times you have a leaky toilet, you may not know it, you might not hear it running, but maybe you see your bill spike, maybe you see a little something come up and you're like, something's happening. So our plumbing doesn't always tell us when there's a problem. Sometimes it's sort of hidden, but a lot of times it's just the flapper sort of like not seated right inside that tank. So a really easy way to check on your way out, make sure you grab a toilet tank leak detection tab. I'm going to come up with a new name. They're Easter egg dye tablets, basically, but they're in little packages right on that table as you walk out. So you put those in the tank. That's why I brought this, so you could see. You put those in the tank. That'll turn the water in your tank blue. Wait about 10 or 15 minutes. Don't flush. Check the bowl. If the water in the bowl is blue, that means you've got a leak somewhere inside the tank, and 9 out of 10 times it's this. And this is an easy fix. All right, and again, we're gonna have to wash our clothes, but make sure you're washing full loads when possible. My daughter's like, I need this one pair of jeans. No, boo, we are washing all the jeans. We are washing all the things. I'm not washing one pair of jeans for you, my dear. So about 19 gallons per load. And again, depending on the washing machine, if it's newer, if it's older. So just make sure you're washing full loads when possible. And then when you take a shower, if you try to keep it to 5 minutes, depending on your shower head, if it's a newer one, if it's low flow, it could be anywhere from 10 to 25 gallons for like a 10-minute shower. So if you've just taken a 5-minute shower, now we're cutting that in half. So that's pretty good. If you like to take a bath, again, bathtubs can be up to like 70 gallons. A cool thing that somebody told me that's like so basic. So I think we wait for like the perfect temperature. You know, we like let the water run in the bathtub. I'm gonna wait till it's perfect temperature and then I'm gonna put the stopper in it. Just like crank it, right? And then adjust it as you go, because otherwise all of that water is just going right down the drain. So a friend of mine, and again, I'm not doing a commercial for him, but a friend of mine invented this, and I guess you could use really a bucket, but this is called the shower pot. I'm gonna work on the name. It's right. You're like, anyway, so the whole point of this is to capture the water in the shower. So when you're waiting for that temperature to just get right in the shower, now you're capturing water. And now that's good water, folks. I mean, you could flush the toilet with this water, right? You could, I don't know, I'm gonna brush my teeth with it, but you could water the plants with it, right? Like you could use this water for something else. So as you're capturing it, waiting for that temperature, you could capture that water and then just repurpose it some way, somehow.
Where do you get those?
We'll talk after. And now all of the water that's coming out of the faucet. So when you're washing the dishes, I mean, if you, again, just like with the laundry, make sure you're washing a full load, right? So a dishwasher is about again, depending on the model, depending on how new it is, a dishwasher could use about 6 gallons per load, versus if you're hand washing, this is my biggest bugaboo. I'm not afraid to admit it. This is where I struggle. We have a dishwasher, but it doesn't work. It's on the list. It's on the list. But we do hand washing, and this is where most of my water goes down the drain. And every time I do it, I'm like, I'm ashamed. I can't call myself water woman. All of this water is going down the drain. But obviously that's way more, right? Because you've got the water cranking, and then you're kind of washing dish by dish versus a dishwasher where that whole load is being washed at the same time. And then this one is super easy. Who does this anyway? Who turns the faucet off when you brush your teeth? Raise your hand. I know. Yes, absolutely. That move alone, that's 8 gallons you save every day. 8 gallons, that adds up, especially if you have multiple people in your house. Just turning the faucet off when you brush. Or you can just, like that, maybe? I don't know. I'm not there yet. But again, those are just a handful of ways. There is so much more information online. But I think my purpose with this and my focus with this particular topic today was, again, not waiting till April 22nd to celebrate, right? Like really incorporating Earth Day. Again, like you said, we're Floridians. We're surrounded in this beautiful environment. We've got water everywhere. We've got beautiful plants everywhere. As much as we can take care of it and sustain it, keep it going, right? And really shift your mindset and really consider some of the information that you got from us today. Hopefully you learned something. Take it home with you. Make this part of your everyday. We really appreciate it. Thank you, guys.